Hi, you're watching Investor Insights, and in this video I just want to talk about Ben Bernanke leaving. Now he's been at the helm of the Fed for 2 terms now, and he's decided that it's getting a bit to him and he doesn't want to be re-elected for a 3rd term. He doesn't even need to be re-elected. He only has to say, I want the job, and it's his. Totally unopposed. You know, I feel for him. It's a tough job, keeping a straight face when you're bullcrapping all day long. But I understand his plight. I mean, he's got to somehow prop up a phony economy which has just imploded because of past loose monetary policies, and he's trying to cure a disease by giving it more of what caused it in the first place, on a grander scale. And with quantitative easing and monetizing all that debt, he's put the scale of loose monetary policy, very aggressive monetary policy, to such a level that there's no coming back from this. There is absolutely no turning back. You can't unwind what you've done. The debt is here to stay. It's going to grow. And the only way that you can get rid of it is by tricking the entire world into believing that inflation is a good thing, and by lying about the state of inflation, you're going to do more QE, or you did more QE anyway, 3 bouts of it, to infinity. And the ultimate goal is to make that debt meaningless by making your currency meaningless. As you probably know, the US debt is obviously in US dollars. So therefore, if you make the US dollar worth nothing, then it's very easy to pay back 17 trillion. And in past videos, the only example I've just had to give was, if you let inflation run and it costs you $1 million to buy a loaf of bread, well, paying off 17 trillion isn't too bad. And the only people who have to suffer are all your creditor nations, because they've used their people's hard work and toil and underconsumption and savings to feed your consumption. I'm sure Ben Bernanke is not that stupid, and he's figured all that out at the start. But he's had no choice. He wanted the status, maybe, or just the fact that he could call himself a Fed chairman for a couple of terms. That may have been what it meant to him. I mean, the money is nothing. It's the stature that comes with the title that most people want. The fact that you can control a country's currency, you can control a whole economy's state through your monetary policy. I mean, this is great. But you've taken everything a bit too far. Sorry. A whole lot too far. And now you've blown up more speculative bubbles of greater size than there's ever been produced in the history of the world. And this implosion is getting closer and closer and closer as inflation starts to run. And it already has started to run. I mean, WTI trading at 107, 108 when there's no demand is telling you that inflation is running. The market's deciding that for you. So why would he want to be at the helm when the crap hits the fan and he's going to get all the blame for it? Well, he should get the blame for it. But you're only as good as your last game, and the person who's going to be in charge, whoever that is going to cop all the blame. And you're going to get off scot-free, although in my mind and most serious thinkers and investors' minds, you're going to be the culprit. And this collapse is going to be so monumental, you just want to be away from the blast zone. And I don't blame you. If I was in your position, obviously I wouldn't have done what you did, but maybe if I had no choice, like probably you did, I may have gone along the same path, who knows. But that's just hindsight, that's just talking out loud. What you've done, you will never have to be held responsible for, because in your mind, under the administration's eye, you did your best to resurrect a phony economy. And in fact, America now is more dependent on this loose monetary policy than it ever has been in the history of the nation. The economy is not growing. People are dead broke, and it's government spending that's propping up GDP, and it's the fact that you're allowing your people to keep on consuming, to keep on taking on more debt, to fund this debt finance consumption, that all these excesses are building up and building up and building up. You're removing the fear from people who want to speculate, because, as you know, as an investor or a trader, it is your overdriving force for doing whatever you need to do is greed. You want more money. You want a greater return. And if left unchecked, your greed will lead you to all sorts of stupid things. You're going to speculate in everything. You're going to just be a giant lemming and put your money into whatever you think is going to go up. But there's one thing that holds that greed back, and that's your fear of loss. So fear of loss holds back your greed, the greed within your mentality, so you make sound investment decisions. You know, man, I'm just going to speculate on buying this, but hang on, it could lose me money. Is it a sound investment? I might lose some money. I should check the PEs. I should check the balance sheets and so forth. But what the government did was remove that fear, because whatever happens, the government's going to bail you out. The government's going to provide enough liquidity to blow up these bubbles, so you don't have to worry about any implosion. So all the speculators are in, stock markets are at all-time high, bond markets were recently at all-time highs, and the already stagnant or declining housing market has picked up a little bit, only through the government purchasing mortgage-backed assets. So you're creating a moral hazard, and there's no end to it. Inflation has started to run. You're gonna kiss the world goodbye and retire to some happy place and go back to teaching whatever nonsense that you've shoved onto the world. And your successor is going to have to tackle the biggest financial crisis ever. The Great Depression will have to have its name changed. It will just be known as the Depression, because the superlatives that's going to be used to describe the coming financial crisis, it's a matter of when, not if. I think they have to come up with whole new language, whole new terms for it, because I don't think anything in our dictionary can describe its size, and it's blowing up by the day. So I think you've made a right choice, Mr. Bernanke. I hope that you yourself aren't invested in any stocks or bonds. Oh, I know you aren't, because there's a conflict of interest, but let's hope that you've got the common sense to warn everybody around you that this thing's coming, because odds are they've probably been blinded by your crap, and life's going to go on. And hopefully some people out there have been able to work out what you've been doing and have protected themselves from the following crash. Good luck to you, Ben.